what do you mean? He says, you're having panic attacks and you're having them so badly that you're having them in your sleep. And I want to cry when I think about it because it was so bad. And Neil was working all the time, so we didn't even have each other.
Right.
Then I found you guys. That's how I found MOMnation.
Who I need to be, coming from the heart, coming from the heart.
Welcome back to MOMnation from the Heart. And now a word from our sponsor.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Gilliam, Senior Mortgage Banker with Waterstone Mortgage. If you're looking to buy a new home or even refinance a current one, I'm able to help you find the best program and interest rate that fits your specific needs. You could call me anytime directly at phone number 480-635-3035 if you have any mortgage questions or if you're ready to get pre-approved for a new home purchase. Thank you.
Hey, MOMnation, we are back with another episode of From the Heart, where we share inspirational stories, useful information, and we discuss a variety of women-related topics. I'm Katie, the founder of MOMnation, and I would love to welcome our gorgeous co-host, Sherry Ramo. We need like the sound effects, like the round of applause, sound effects.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I should get right on that. I'm right on top of that, Rose. I've been doing movie quotes with JD, so that's like one of her favorite ones. So I've been using that all the time. You know what movie that's from, right?
No.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I don't even think I've seen that movie.
What? No. Okay. The next time I am with Sherry, we're watching Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
We have to. Okay, deal.
Because it's a good one with a lot of really great quotes from it.
I'm around Amanda way too much, and I hear Mean Girls quotes all day long.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Actually, we went, speaking of, well, we weren't Mean Girls, but we went on a girls' camping trip this past weekend.
Yes.
And so
so fun.
It was awesome. And so we just went up to the Lake Pleasant here in Arizona and spent, Friday, Saturday night, just girls, had a great time. Our campsite was right on the lake, so it was gorgeous. But I don't know, because I fell asleep because if I don't have my laptop on me or if I'm not doing something, I can't just sit in front of the television. I can't. I fall asleep. And so we all kind of got cozy to watch a movie, and it was late Friday night. And I think they watched Mean Girls, but I don't know. I was probably snoring.
Ashley, I'll have to ask Ashley and Sarah.
Oh, ask Ashley. Ask her just how much she won over the weekend too. She'll tell you all those stories. It's pretty funny stuff. But anyway, we are not here to talk about camping. We are here to talk about this beacon of light, this amazing person that we've had in our group for years and years and years. And I love that I have a personal friendship with you, Lynette, because you really and truly are an inspiration. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. And of course, I know your story, but I know that there are a lot of women out there that don't. And we have dropped your name a time or two on this podcast. And so
I heard.
Right? And so I know people that are out there that are like, who's Lynette? What is her story? What is this all about? So
it brought back quite a few memories and emotions.
I bet it did. And for Sherry and I, the latest talking about you that we did on the podcast, we were kind of remembering as we were talking about it. And for us, it brought upon emotions as well. So let's get right to it. Let's begin at the beginning.
Wow, the beginning. That is, I think when I met the two of you online, at that point, we haven't met in person yet. We were, I think, 42 or 48 people in the group.
Yeah, we're at 10,200 now.
It's crazy, hey? It's crazy.
Grown a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember eventually we always chatted online. I chatted to Sherry, I chatted to you, Katie, and we finally met at the very first date night. What was speed dating? Remember
Yes.
that very first speed dating?
And it was huge. There was
Yes.
like 80 people there.
Yes. that's when we finally met in person. And I remember doing all these fun, the kids were still small, so the girls were still itty bitty. And I was still doing a lot of making fun stuff with the oils and, you know, especially incorporating the kids because they enjoyed it. I just had to, you know, make fun things with them. So I hosted a few things, and I think back and how it wasn't home yet. So everything, I had nothing on my walls. I look at pictures of the house that we were in, and I just refused to put anything on, or because somehow I didn't think that it was going to be long term, or we were going to have to move at some point, or, you know, you don't ever know what's going to happen next because you at the grace of somebody else. You hear on if anybody knows what L1 visas are, you're linked to a company, and if something goes wrong or you leave that company, it means that your visa ends there. So it was just never a certainty. And I look back at the house and it was like, it's so depressing to look at it, you know what I mean? It's just bare walls. We arrived here with our 4 suitcases and 2 babies, and that was it. We didn't have anything else. And we had to start our lives from scratch with no family, no friends, no anything around, not even knowing where you are. I mean, you just get plonked in a place and you've got no idea, even on a map, where you are. I didn't have a car for the first 4 months. So I literally walked the girls. I had no radio, no TV, no car. I had a bare house with 4 bedrooms, with a bed, because the beds we bought new, but that's all we could do, and nothing else in the house. We had a bed to sleep on and nothing. And the echo in the house, I will never forget that. And with 2 babies, that was the only sound that I heard 24/7. Neil went to work. So he was working 90+ hours a week at that point. So we never saw him. And I was never a stay-at-home mom. I was working in corporate my entire life. So this was a brand new thing for me. We were extremely spoiled in South Africa. I had a live-in maid, I had a live-in gardener, you know, you stay on massive properties. So everything is taken care of for you. Up until the point that we arrived here, I've never taken, people will find it crazy, but I have never even taken my 2 girls out on my own ever, because why would I?
Like
I have
out
a nanny.
to a recreation place or hiking or something like that?
No, nope. I was working in corporate. I made sure I refused for my nanny to do the things that I wanted to do as a mother, because, you know, when you're working full-time in corporate and you have a nanny, there's a fine line between what I wanted as a mom and what it looked like to me. My mom is a working mom her entire life, so that's kind of the lifestyle I was used to, none of this. And so I made sure I woke up early so that I fed my girls, I got them ready. I didn't have to do that. I had a nanny, but I wanted to have that time. So I made sure that I fed them, I bathed them, I dressed them, I cleaned them. So by the time she came in, I could hand them over and I could go to work. And the same for when I got home from work. At first, until they were 1, I made sure I came home from work. I then fed them, bathed them, got them ready for bed and put them to bed, because that's the sum total of time you have with your kids as, you know, a corporate working mom. But as, you know, as time goes by, you working, say, later hours, you will have the nanny make sure that the nanny have them bathed and dressed and fed so that you could play with them as they get older, because the playing part then became more important than feeding and cleaning them. So you kind of had that balance. And when we were dropped here, there was nothing, no support. I've never taken them out on my own ever. Why would I do that? I had a nanny. So if I took both, I took her with. If I didn't want to take both, I left one with her and I took one. So I never, ever took both on my own. So it was a brand new experience and a brand new way of being a mom. It might sound horrible to some people, but I wasn't that mom. So that was, I didn't know how much it affected me until I was waking up in the middle of the night and I was thinking I'm having a heart attack. And I didn't know what it was. And I eventually went to the doctor and I said to the doctor, there's something wrong with me. He needs to look, because I'm getting worried. I think I'm dying. And he's like, he just gave me one look. He gave a look to the girls and he said, you need help. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, you're having panic attacks and you're having them so badly that you're having them in your sleep. And I want to cry when I think about it because it was so bad. And Neil was working all the time, so we didn't even have each other.
Right.
Then I found you guys. That's how I found MOMnation.
Aww.
He sent me to a psychologist because I refused to take medication. So he sent me home with a script and I didn't want to take it. And then he sent me to a psychologist, which I went for one visit because he said to me two things that I'll never forget. He said, there's lots of moms groups, find one. And that's how I found you guys. And the second thing he said to me was, make sure you never fall into the trap of fast and convenient, because that will destroy you as a person. And I listened. So I made sure that everything is always home cooked at that point. Everything was always made at home. I made it my life's purpose to slow life down, because this is a very fast-paced environment. South Africa is not even as fast-paced. So
not to interrupt you, but that's kind of like, that had to have been yet another sort of thing for you to overcome, is coming from such a different place and to such a different atmosphere. So
absolutely.
Like, what's the difference? And what brought you to the USA? Can we ask that?
Huge culture shock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
absolutely. My husband got an intercompany transfer. So when we decided at the time, I've been to the UK for 2 years before. So I've traveled internationally. And then we said, why don't we see if we can go somewhere, even if it's for 2 years, to go and experience a different country. And we were always planning on going back. But I said to Neil, funny, because I've been to England, and after you've been gone and you realize how life could be, you would not want to go home. You are going to try and stay for the sake of your children. And it did actually happen that way. I still wanted to go back at that point because I think I was not adapting well. That's why it made me cry when I listened to your podcast, because the way you guys saw me and the way I felt inside was worlds apart. I can't even explain it. So to have heard you guys talk that way about my kids and about me was so heartwarming, because it was not how it was. And it's not because it wasn't because you pretended to be someone else. It was just, I refused to put my situation on someone else. So we're not used to in South Africa asking for help or it is incredible. And the way you guys came and helped us, with all our stuff that we'll talk about, but that we weren't used to that. We got to friends' house and they, Brian, they're very close friends of ours, actually ex-South African. And he said to us, so you don't have a radio and you don't have a TV, you must be losing your freaking mind. I'm like, you guys don't understand how much I walked all day. I would load the kids in a double stroller and I will walk for miles on end. And he gave us a radio, he gave us a TV, and it was so overwhelming because we're not used to that type of thing. And we just experienced so much of that here that I wanted just, even if I couldn't do it financially or physically with stuff, I figured I can give it back some other way. Just be that person that I longed for when I first arrived. Just be that person, because you know what? I didn't have a 5-minute break to, if everything became overwhelmed, I didn't have a friend I could phone and say, please just come over for 5 minutes so that I can walk out the door and have a cup of coffee without my kids. I didn't have that. So it was 24/7. I think Cherie's probably going through it right now. Your kids are older, so they're going to school, so that helped. We couldn't put the kids in daycare. It just wasn't financially viable to even send them to daycare, and me going to work at that point. And we said, I don't want anybody else to raise my children. Then I'll rather stay at home and raise them myself. So with the intercompany transfer, we decided, you know what? We've got 2 places to look at, and that was New Zealand and America. And we eventually, the place in New Zealand was snowing a lot. And I said to Neil, I can't do this. We're not going to New Zealand. I don't want to live in a place that snows. So that's how we ended up here, because we knew it was nice weather. It's not snowing. We can do this. So that's how we ended up in Phoenix with the company instead of New Zealand.
Can't do the Iron Man in the snow, okay, people?
No. It's not gonna happen. So that was awesome. I mean, we did, then kind of when I found you guys, I tried to, have the little events, meet more people, just make more connections, because I needed to. I knew that it's something that I have to do. I can't do this by myself. It wasn't possible for me to do this by myself. And you guys came along, and we've been in and out of each other's lives since then. And that was 2014. And, we've been
saying how long ago?
Yes. So I told you about the L1 visa and how that works with companies. So I don't know if you ever heard of INSIS and the INSIS story. So you can go and look it up. INSIS is used to be a pharmaceutical company. My husband was on the audit. He was leading the audit of this company, and he uncovered a lot of stuff. And he became a whistleblower. So with that, he reported it all the way, and none of the companies wanted to do anything about it at the point. The owner of INSIS is actually in jail now. It's been a really big thing in America. So if you go and Google that, it's a very big story on pharmaceuticals and the drugs and how it all fell apart for this man.
Wow.
So my husband was part of that. So in South Africa, it was so freaky. You only see this stuff in the movies. So I'm just jumping forward a little bit, but when we were in South Africa, Neil will get a phone call from the FBI here, and they would send him a Zoom link, and they will have conversations. And at the end of the Zoom link, it says, this link is terminated. And it's like, it was so freaky. You see this stuff on movies and on TV, and that's kind of what happened with all of this. But when the companies decided not to do anything, they were also in the process of terminating a lot of the visas. I still think the reason he's got terminated is because he was a whistleblower. They didn't want to be part of it, and they didn't want to do anything about it as audits on, on the whole case. But we had another company went to Neil and said, hey, why don't you come and work for us? And Neil said, okay, you know what, that's fine if you apply for our family's green cards, if the company applies for it. And we'd never expected them to say yes, but they did. So the application started, and this we all did in the background. Now there's a lapse between your L1 visa and how far you are in the application of your green card, which will then allow you to either stay or not. And in that lapse, the attorneys made a mistake on one of our applications, and they switched the last 2 digits on the application around. Immigration refused for them to counter them on that, because they said it's not going to be enough time. We have to start the whole process from the beginning again. That was 4 months in. We were going to just make it between the lapse of the L1 visa and having to go or stay. And with that mistake, they gave us 30-day notice to leave the country.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And at that point, I mean, our lives, everything has already been ripped out from underneath us, because they didn't want to renew his visa because he became a whistleblower. The company that hired him, that's a different story altogether, was also, but anyway, that's a whole different story. And then this mistake. So everything happened at once. I will never forget, it happened on my birthday. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
You had to leave on your birthday, or you got the news on your birthday?
News.
Ah.
On my birthday. And they said, thank you very much. You've got 30 days to leave. We're like, what do you do?
I think most Americans can't even relate to a 30-day notice of moving in general, but moving with children across country, I don't think, unless you're military, but I don't think a lot of people can even relate or fathom what that entails and what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's not just, I'm not moving from one town to the next. I have to
another country that you've been away from. How long had you been away from South Africa for?
That would have been 3 years.
Okay, 3 years. And 30 days at every plane ticket.
My husband just shoved a note on the desk to say, lighten it up. We've had a lot of blessings too.
I love it.
I said, we'll get to all the blessings.
We're getting to the blessings.
Yep, that's the best part.
So you have family in South Africa, so you had some support there. So it wasn't like you had to go back and find a place to stay and all of that, right?
We stayed with my parents, which was very difficult for Neil, but difficult for them too. Yeah. But it was supposed to take 4 months. They told us, don't worry about it. We're sorry. They gave us discounts on whatever we had to pay going forward, because when we got the news, that's when MOMnation came in. People told us, get people to phone, get people to write, get people to just bombard the officers. I mean, who was it at the time that was our
governor?
Yes.
It wasn't Ducey. I don't remember, but I remember contacting their office on your behalf.
Yeah, we were at the offices in Phoenix. We went to the offices just around here somewhere. We had meetings after meetings after meetings with them, and there was just nothing they could do. They said once it's at immigration and it hasn't passed a certain point in immigration, you in immigration's hands, and there's nothing anyone can do. MOMnation made so many phone calls and sent so many letters, along with Christ Greenfield, where the girls go to school, the church there and the school, that the governor's office phoned us and said, please, can you get your people to stop phoning and stop mailing?
Oh,
Yeah.
we
And
did
we
our
didn't.
job.
Of course we didn't. So they were bombarded. I mean, if you go back to that post in MOMnation and see hundreds and hundreds of moms who said, sent, we called, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Everybody just rallied together and said, you know what, it's not right. It wasn't right. It should never have happened. But it was, in hindsight, the best thing that could have happened to us as a family. Because although the 18 months in South Africa, Neil had to go and work wherever he found work. So he was traveling the whole time. In the 18 months that we were there, we were literally together for a period of 6 months.
Wow.
As a family. The rest of the time, Neil was working everywhere. And then we had to live in 2 countries at the same time, because we still had stuff here to take care of. We refused to just say, oh, so what? So we wanted to make sure that we come back in very good standing too.
Right.
We don't want to just let things go. So we made a very big effort to make sure that everything here is 100% right. And then, we still had to live in South Africa too.
Well, right.
So,
and didn't you leave things behind? And
yeah,
didn't you have to leave a dog with a friend?
both our dogs.
Both of them.
Was
Okay.
there a car
Yeah.
thing? Like, hadn't you guys had a car at that point where you had to like try to sell it or figure that out? Plus you had
Yep.
your rental that you had to get new people in, or, deal with all of those expenses. There was so much.
Yeah. So all those things was, you just hustle in those 30 days. And most stupid thing, but my wedding ring, we designed our own engagement ring. I don't have it on now. But somehow, with all the packing, my engagement ring landed up in one of these boxes that went into the container, into storage. So we couldn't even sell anything, because how do I now ask somebody to go through every single container to try and find my engagement ring?
Yeah, no.
So we had to keep on paying for all the stuff that I could have just let go and sell. But I didn't want to lose my engagement ring. Neil was so mad. Because right at the end, when we were packing the container, I'm like, I can't find my ring. I don't know where my ring. He took out every single crate again out of the container. And that was like a night before we had to leave.
Oh my goodness.
Going through all these boxes, and I still couldn't find it. We gave up. But I have to say, being back in South Africa for the 18 months, I think just reassured, because at that point, I was still not sure that this is where I wanted to be. And because I've always been in corporate, I always was working, I always took care of, myself too. And now being 100% reliant on somebody else was very difficult for me. And that's how I started my own business. And I had so many things that people were throwing at me, and I just didn't quite, connect with some of it. And when I found the oils, I absolutely loved them. It fell into my lifestyle. And I enjoyed just working with it. I enjoy still to today. I love helping people with the oils. I love teaching on the oils. So I get asked a lot would you come and talk? Would you come and teach? Would you come in? And that's how I do the business now. It's purely by invitation to speak. I don't do all this stuff anymore. Yes. So that's how I started the business, because I didn't want to just sit and do nothing. And I knew if I find the moms group like I was told to do, and I start my own little network, and hey, maybe if I throw this in and I have my own business on top of all the craziness, I'll have something to focus on, and bring all, everything together, which is kind of what happened just before we had to go back. And funny, I built the biggest part of my business in a country that wasn't even open yet.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. And honestly, that's when I learned that you should not, don't be ashamed of your story, and don't be ashamed of what you've been through and what have brought you to this moment of starting something or going to work or whatever the case might be. But you can impact a lot of people's lives by sharing that, because there's big parts of the story that nobody knows. The way we had to come over is how people come over that's single in their 20s. So that's more than enough money for somebody that's single in their 20s and living that lifestyle. It was not nearly enough money for Neil and myself and a family of 4 to live on. I had to wait so Neil had, they gave them $10 a day for food because they work such long hours. And Neil wouldn't use his $10 to buy food because I will pack him something to eat, because I had to wait for the $10 a day to go and buy food, because we didn't have money to survive. So that's kind of, that's so much in a story to share with people that, you know what, I know it doesn't look like it. We've come so far, but I know what it feels like to sit with $10, waiting for that $10 for lunchtime to come through so I can load up the girls, drive to Walmart and buy something for the day to eat, because we didn't have anything else. So to be able to speak to people from there and share the way I have done things to get to where we are today is a major blessing in my life, because I would want that for every single person. Like, aren't you tired of saying no to things? I had to say no to my little girls for 3 years because I couldn't take them there. I couldn't take them there. I couldn't enjoy this with them because there was nothing to do it. So by the time we went back to South Africa, the business just started literally, I didn't really I was playing with the oils. I was making connections, and then we left. And then I decided, you know what? This is something that a lot of people need in South Africa, in countries where it's hard. And if somebody can make just $50 extra a month, I know what that felt like then. That $50 was life-saving for us then. So I know everybody, want to start their own businesses, and they see all these big successes. And I spent my entire time in this business focusing on the small ones, because I know how much the small ones changes people's lives. By the time you hit the big successes, that's when you start, I think, investing into bigger things, changing bigger groups, going into, bigger, how do I explain it? Organizations to make a change.
Well, and I feel like big success is just a whole bunch of little successes added up.
Very much so. And it doesn't mean that your little successes is not profitable for you.
Right.
That's not how life works. That's not what the universe means. Every little success that you are able to put back into somebody else's life to me is what drove me to have the business, because I knew having this business, I was able to do that for people. I can easily show somebody how to make $50.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to take you 3 days. It's not going to take you months. And I know how much that changes people's lives. It did that for us.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
it's not.
those
Yeah.
big successes, I think that most people can't relate to them because they think it's so far-fetched. But those people wouldn't be at that big success level if they gave up on those little small successes, and it's repeating it and doing it over and over again to get to that large success.
Yeah.
And celebrating it. Come on,
Absolutely.
like, saying to yourself, I mean, we all know what self-talk does, right? It could be very negative self-talk. It could be very positive self-talk, but allowing yourself to celebrate those small successes, really, I feel like helps with the momentum.
Yeah.
To get that.
I was ashamed of those small successes.
Let's talk about that. Let's dive into that, because I feel like, how do I want to say this? I feel like over the years that I've known you, you have changed. Sherry and I were just talking about this morning, and not about you, but just about growth, and about how when we had lunch the other day, we spoke about the seasons of life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I feel like we have seasons of life, seasons of friendships, like was what we were specifically speaking about. But I feel like we have seasons of ourselves too. And there are different versions of ourselves that show up along the way, right? And we grow, and we change, and we learn from our experiences. And take me through that. Let's back up to prior to starting the business, dealing with the obstacles that you were dealing with. How did you make the switch from, look, I'm really kind of ashamed of what's going on here, I'm not really proud of this, to, no, this is me, and this is how I got to where I am, and let me tell you all about it. Like how did you flip that switch? I feel like so many of us are stuck and not able to flip that around.
I think when you do, so I do a lot of webinars and talks and things, teaching on oils and teaching on the business. And you quickly realize that the more you share your story, the more it becomes a possibility for everyone else too. Where in the beginning, especially in this type of environment, let's call what it is, it's network marketing. I love network marketing. I mean, I've been in it since I was 21 years old. That's not a new thing for me. But the expectation when you step into this type of business and environment is that it's so big. If you're not making 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 grand a month, then you're doing something wrong. You something about you, or something that you're doing, or this or that. There's this, I think, the stigma of network marketing that is real. I'm not going to sit and sugarcoat it. I mean, Cherie, you should know, you don't look a certain way. Ask Neil how much I fought because I said to him, well, I don't look like them. I'm never going to, I don't have the long blonde hair and the, whatevers. I can't do this because I don't fit the mold. So how many times do you look at yourself and think, well, first of all, I don't fit the mold, I'm never going to make it. And secondly, I'm not making 2 grand after my first 2 months in the business. I'm not good enough. So there's all these expectations that is out there and that you put on yourself. And that's not why I decided to do it in the first place, but you get so lost in all that stuff that Neil is good because he brings me back every time. And he will say to me, but why did you start this in the first place? You didn't do this to get rich. You doing this because you know how much $10 a day means. You know how much $50 can change somebody's life. It's not. And that's the moments when you're on these calls or you're on these webinars with all these live people on there, and you realize that you know what, me telling them how much I earn every month, or, you know, the bonuses that I get or that you can get, or the potential of this business is not going to give them an opportunity to change their lives. That's not what gives them the opportunity. So if you can take it away from yourself and just remember what you have to offer them and how much it can change for them, it makes it easier to own it. Because me telling them how much I struggled is probably where they are at now. They're not going to relate to me, but I can relate to them. You know, and I do tell them, what have we done? Katie, since then, Neil is still working his backside off. You know, we have the oil business. We now have the little construction business mine that's starting to take place. You know, we spoke about it. I'm tired of working with men. I just want to work with women now. So we kind of have that thing going, and it will come together slowly. I've, you know, had some responses back again, and I'm excited. But you have to keep growing too. You know, you can't just sit and say, hey, you know what, I want the nice house. I want to live this life. I want more, but there's also an element of you have to be prepared to do the work.
The personal growth part.
Yeah.
And
If you're not prepared to do it, then that piece is going to be missing. And you have to be able, sorry, Sherry, you have to be able to face yourself, because it's easy to see things in other people. But for me, it's easy to ignore. I have to allow myself to feel, because I'm very good at not feeling things for the sake of others. So I can push things aside and it won't even bother me in a couple of days. It's gone. I don't have to deal with it. It's gone. And I can suppress. And it doesn't mean it comes up later. I really have the ability that if it's not important to deal with, it's not worth dealing with. You have to pick your battles with yourself too, like you would pick your battles with your friends. So it's not worth beating yourself up about everything either, but pick your battles with yourself where you know that that person was right. Maybe if I just look at this or change this, things will change for me. And that person for me is Neil. He will tell me what I don't want to hear. You know, we all have that person that have the guts to tell you what you don't want to hear. And I think it's important. And I'm a bit of a straight shooter. And if you look at my personality analysis, number one is honesty. So I will always be honest with what I see if you're asking. And I think that's important, because if somebody's going to come up and say, hey, you know what, I think my life can also change, you know, there's going to be things that every single person need to face to make that change. It's not just going to happen. So a lot of people look at these businesses and think, oh, it's such a fairy tale business. It's like, no, you have to work at it.
So how did things change for you in your business, in even just your life in general, in your relationships, all that stuff, when you went from, I want to hide what's going on, I don't want people to see, to this is me and this is what I have to offer the world and here's what I'm doing, and what you see is what you get? What happened in your life? What was the difference there?
I think that's when we went back to South Africa and you see and experience poverty. I think a lot of people think they know what it is, but they've never experienced it. They don't know what it is until they've been in it. And Neil and I taught at the primary school that I went to as a kid, in some of the time that we were there, and it's heartbreaking. It's sad to see, and I think it made me realize that you've got something powerful to share, because those are the people that can have some. If you can give somebody something to change their lives with, not everybody's going to take it. That's okay.
Right.
But I feel like it's my job to share it. I know that if I keep on sharing it, they have got the opportunity to do with it what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So that changed. I'm not expecting anything out of it. And I think that's where the biggest change happens, when you don't have an expectation anymore.
Yep. Yep. When you're just doing it out of passion, when you're helping another person,
Yes.
the universe always takes care of you. I mean, and that's not, so let's back it up. That's not, I don't think, why you did what you did just because you knew, oh, okay, well, if I help somebody, then the universe is going to take care of me. It's a byproduct. And I feel like moving in down the road of passion is really, really important, because I heard you say, I worked corporate, I did this, I did that. I didn't hear any passion in your voice when you were talking about that. And then you started to talk about, forming your own business and all of that. And then the sparks coming and the passions coming, like I'm getting the chills, right, as I talk about it, because I can feel that you're going down the road of passion there. So can you speak to that at all in terms of, coming out of corporate, knowing that you've got these capabilities and you can do X, Y, Z, but that's not where your passion lies. You move to passion. It's a struggle to walk down the passion road, but talk to me about,
I think people need to realize that a lot of, we hear, this is something we hear a lot: follow your passion, follow your passion, follow your passion. But in reality, not everybody's got the opportunity to do that. Let's be fair, because following your passion means that there's a big gap and a big sacrifice that happens. We were just fortunate because the sacrifice that I had to make was already there. I was now all of a sudden a stay-at-home mom.
right.
I did not have to change my entire life upside down. It was already upside down to go towards that. Where if you're speaking to somebody else right now that is in corporate and want to make that switch to passion, it probably means that they're going to work two jobs for a while before they get to drop one to follow the other. That's reality for us. We don't live in if you want to keep your lifestyle. If you find to drop your lifestyle and follow your passion, that's the other option. But most people are going to continue working their daily job and then starting slowly to work on their passion, because sometimes we think it's our passion and it's really not. That happens. So I think it's important to know that it's not something that's overnight. It's not something that you need to be scared of, because I think the biggest reason we don't do it because we're scared that it's going to fail. I think you and I spoke about it, Katie. You kind of, I know you looked at me once and you're like, because yes, I want this construction business to be a success, but at the end of the day, is it something that came on our paths? I gave it a shot, and if it's not going to work, I'm okay to let it go.
That's giant.
Giant.
That's giant. And something that I'm 42 years old. I know you both know that. And it took me this long to figure out this past year. I mean, I kind of knew, and people would tell me, and I'd read it here and there and what, but it's not to force things. Don't be married to the outcome.
Nope.
How much relief has that provided to you since you actually learned that? So we learned it, right? If you're anything like me, I learned it, but I didn't put it into practice. So how much relief does that bring to you? Just
Yes.
stress relief when you put that into practice.
Yes. And I think it also allows you to be more present with people, more present with what you are doing, more present with what you are offering, because you don't really care whether they take it or not. I do care. I do want them to take it because I know it's going to help them, but it's okay if they don't. It's not for everyone. I understand that. And Neil and I speak about it often because, you know, it's so saturated here. And I mustn't use that word. I mean, my upline will shoot me dead if they hear me say that. But it is like everybody is using oils. Everybody's got a connection with oils, you know? And if somebody is going to come to me and ask me for advice or ask me what I do or ask me to share or ask me to speak, am I going to say no just because I'm not going to get a sale from them, or they're not going to join my business, or they're not going to buy from me? Or no, I actually don't care. Do you have oils in your house? Yes. Are you using them? Yes. You're good to go. I don't really care where you get them from, because what's important here, you're using them for your health, you're using them for your emotional well-being. That to me is a lot richer than, yes, do I want the sales? Of course I do. Do I want the business? Of course I do. But I also know that by doing these things without all the expectation, the right people come your way too.
100%. And it's more valuable.
Yes.
Because it's the
They
right
stick.
connection and it's not a forced connection.
Yes.
And then from that one, it's like one valuable connection is better than 100 invaluable connections, right?
Yes.
And I've found that too. It's like, okay, it kind of naturally sifts through the noise when you approach it that way.
Absolutely.
Which
and it
is,
keeps you true to what you are doing.
yeah. Sherry does this a lot. Sherry, what do you have to add? I know, I can see it in your face. You have something.
Well, I just wanted to point out the fact that Lynette is spot on when she says what she just said about the fact that like she'll help you no matter what. Because when I met her, I had gotten into the business not to sell. I was already doing my own business on health and wellness, other things, right? But I purchased an oil kit, not to sell it, not to be a distributor or anything like that, but just because I wanted the buy-in, I wanted the discounts, whatever. But I wasn't eligible. I wasn't in the groups. I didn't, want to sell. So I went to her with questions because I was starting to become this crunchy mom. I didn't know all of the things, and every time I saw her doing an event or just speaking about it, I was in her groups and on Facebook, you could see her passion and how she lit up and just, she was excited about it. And she learns all of the back, information, the science, all of that. And then she can explain it to you. And so I just loved that about her. I love that she made it fun for the events where the kids were making bath salts or bath bombs or the little perfume rollers, which my kids loved those. So that's what really drew me to you initially. And I just loved watching you and your family, not only here and after you guys went back to South Africa. Like I loved seeing all of the videos, the kids cooking and things like that. Like that just made my day. But I'm super glad that you're back. And
I remember, do you remember one of your kids poured peppermint oil?
yes. And I
over
called
themselves or something.
yes, because I know it's a hot oil, but I was like, what do I do? Yes.
I remember that.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
So see,
it's been
like
fun.
it wasn't a matter of, and I did buy some stuff from her, but she was always willing to help and always there for anything. And it wasn't like with the intention of Sherry's going to be a client, because she knew that, hey, I had already purchased this other kit and I had a bunch of oils and I could get my own discount. It wasn't even about that. She just loves them and she's willing to help. But when you talk about the network marketing, I was laughing or like really agreeing, like, yes, because of course I see it and hear it all day too. And there's so many people out there that with the stigma, they're just automatically like, hey, I need this, but don't even send me any MLMs. You see that, right? We all see those posts. And it just makes me laugh on the inside a little bit, because some people are so willing to go out there and shop at Walmart or Costco or Sam's or whatever. And they're so adamant about not supporting a small, an individual. It's still
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Still happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still get that. And for me, they must have had such a bad experience that I'm so sorry about,
Right.
because there's so many great products that you can only get on MLMs. And I'm
Yep.
sorry that it's an MLM, but I'm not going to be deterred because it's an MLM, because I love having the best products. I love trying new products. I mean, I don't only have oils. That's not the only way I keep my family healthy. That's part of it. You know, I use different products. I have my oils. I have so many, and it also depends on which phase of our training programs we are in, what I use, when I use it, how we eat, what we eat. It all goes together. It's not just, I think a lot of the times people get overexcited in the MLMs because you're so excited in the beginning that you really believe that if you just have the oils, it's going to change your freaking life.
Yeah.
And I get it. It did change our lives. I still use it daily. There's not a day that goes by that my kids don't use it. I don't use it. My husband doesn't use it. Our lives is centered around that. But because it's not going to change everything. I can't fix a broken arm with oils, you guys. There's a fine line
Right.
between what I can do for people. I'm not going to take a stage 4 cancer patient and tell them I can heal them.
Right.
And I think that's where things went wrong, or still goes wrong in the industry. It's not just oils, it's with all the MLMs. I think that the newbies who don't have experience to lead them go in maybe with all of the stuff that they shouldn't be saying, because it's not true. And when you are inexperienced with using natural products, you think, oh great, heal me.
Mhm.
It's not the way it works. You can enhance people's lives, yes. It's not a be all and end all. Oils is a very small piece of the overall pie. That's also, I don't like just, when I have my one-on-one consultations with people who start, I cannot just look at the oils that they're starting with. We have to look at the bigger picture. We have to see what their lives look like to be realistic on what the oils can do for you.
Right.
I can't create miracles,
Well,
you can't live on junk food all day, every day, and then think that the oils is going to keep you healthy. It's sure as heck going to do a lot for you, but wow, it's a very short piece of the whole big pie.
you have to think holistically. Exactly. You can't use oils and eat McDonald's every day and think that it's going to fix everything. Right. You have to take a holistic approach, which you take the time to do that. And not everybody does. And so when you're talking about MLM, it's each individual, right? Just because you had a bad experience with one individual, maybe they didn't have a good upline or somebody to coach them effectively. But you want to look for the people who are taking that holistic approach or taking that extra step to learn more about you, because then they actually care about that.
And not even about me. You know what? Take the time. If I'm going to go to a MLM myself, because I want different products or other products to add, the first thing I ask them is what comes with it. When they have a blank look on their face and they like, well, what do you mean? Let me tell you, when people buy oils from me, they don't have to ask. I said, this is what's going to happen. Because first of all, we're going to place your order. You're going to get it delivered 2 days maximum after you get it, you need to contact me, because then we're going to either meet in person or like this online, and we're going to work through a 90-day plan, health plan, not oil plan, health plan, because you can't just do oils. You're getting all of it. You can't just get the oils and put them on the counter and think people are going to use it, because they're not. So when I'm looking for a MLM, or I find a product that I really love and coincidentally it is a MLM, my first question is, what do I get with it? When they talk products, I know it's not the person that I want to deal with, because
That's a
or when they
huge
talk
point.
business, no, I want their time. I
It's
want
not
their
the product.
expertise.
You're buying the individual, the
I don't
person.
need buying the products. I don't need more products. If I want more products, I'll buy it. Thank you for the freebies, but you know what? That's not what I'm asking. I want your expertise. I don't have the expertise in this specific product. I want your time and I want your expertise, because that's going to help me use it correctly. That will give me the opportunity to actually change things in my household. But dumping the product on me and giving me all extra discounts and extra products and all sorts of stuff is not helping me. I don't know what to do with it.
Right. And it just sounds like you guys have said, it just sounds like, you know, somebody who is inexperienced, didn't have the right guidance, didn't have the right direction, that maybe these other people connected with. And that is too bad, because, you know, honestly, like Sherry said, why go to Walmart? You're going to buy something probably with worse ingredients than if you talk to Lynette or Sherry about the, you know what I mean? And then it goes to the Walton family. Yeah, because they totally need more money. That's absolutely what we should be doing. No, and I've never thought that way. And I have run into those experiences where, you know, people were selling things they probably had no business selling.
We all have.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And
But I'm still going to give somebody else a chance.
a chance, because it doesn't mean they're like that. Exactly.
Well, it's stereotyping anything in life. You can't, because we're humans and each of us are different in so many capacities. And so stereotyping doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
And I'll own my mistakes. I mean, I have had customers that came in from the very beginning that you contact later on and you say, you know what? I know I was inexperienced then. I've learned so much since. Can we sit down and have another call? Can we meet? Can we do? Because you know what? You were inexperienced. You didn't know everything, and you probably can help them a lot better now than what you did then.
100%. Yeah.
So,
Yep. Speaking of, I'll get in touch with you after, but I need some breathe and on guard. Anyway, so I'll be in touch. But we are at the end of the show and we got here so quickly. And there's actually a bunch of more questions that I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, and maybe we just need to do a part 2 with Lynette, because I wanted to ask you about the whole fitness thing and when that entered your life, because it was a big topic of conversation when you and I had lunch the other day. And I love your perspective on that. And, you know, Sherry and I both have gone through some pretty amazing life transformations this year, dealing with doing that same thing and, you know, really getting serious about our physical health. And we both experienced, Sherry and I kind of do things like at the same time. We're just like in the car together as we travel down the road, but we both experienced quite a bit of growth and quite a bit of opportunity to bring self-love back into the picture. And so we need a part 2, Lynette. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us. You're amazing.
absolutely. I love you guys. You guys are always a part of our lives and a big part of it.
Oh, well, we love that. And all of you out there, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, you could be like Lynette. Please follow us at MOMnation. Our handle is at MOMnation USA, and we are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, probably other stuff, YouTube. I don't know. Sherry is awesome at all that. Thank you, Sherry. So find us there, shoot us a message, and let us know why you'd like to be on the show. While you are listening, thank you so much for getting to the end of the show, by the way. And while you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please like us, subscribe, download our episodes, because that really just helps us get this information out to the women's ears that need to hear them. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Lynette.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.